But every now and then he gets a little too comfortable and drifts into situationships. What up, what up, what up? What's happening? KLOK, me and Tay. Welcome to Love, Purpose, and Passports. Hope all is well and all are passport ready, a passport getting ready. For those of you that don't know, I am Mr. Pro for You living in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Let's get right to it. There's an interesting thing happening within the zeitgeist that you've probably noticed. Men are slowly being influenced to believe that they don't want relationships, that they shouldn't want relationships, that rejecting relationships is clarity. Granted, there are men who genuinely don't want relationships, but they're the minority. They tend to be older men who've been through bad divorces and lost a lot. And if you listen closely to how they talk, you'll notice something. They don't usually say they hate relationships because they lost a woman. They tend to say they hate relationships because they lost their things. They lost their assets. And to be fair, many of them are devastated by losing access to their kids. That's trauma. Would they still have been unhappy if the courts hadn't handed over their finances and their children? Maybe. Maybe not. But they wouldn't have been destroyed. There's always another woman who would love to be in a stable home with a relationship-minded man. Some may beg to differ, but you see evidence of it every day. A relationship ends and a relationship man can be right back in another one, if he chooses. The real question is never whether a man can get into another relationship, it's whether he can get into another one that won't destroy him. Again, men don't hate relationships. They hate the system that surrounds them. Which brings us to the four kings. The four kings are the men who travel and date overseas. All men can fit these categories, but the framework for this applies to men who travel. The four kings are the relationship man who acts like the non-relationship man, the non-relationship man, the non-relationship man who acts like the relationship man. The relationship man comes overseas genuinely looking for a good woman, whether it's for dating or for long-term relationship, even marriage. He tends to spend months talking to a woman, getting to know her, and will book his trip specifically to enjoy the sights with her. The relationship man who acts like the non-relationship man, he wants connection, but pretends he doesn't. He's influenced by the single life, the player from the Himalayas. At the core of it, he's lying to himself that he's a non-relationship man. He juggles multiple women, he avoids clarity, he confuses access to women with freedom. He isn't a bad man, but drama finds him because his desire and behavior don't align. This is the man who, when things get complicated, says, "I don't need this, I'm just looking for peace." Not understanding that it's complicated because he wants consistency while behaving loosely. Now, the non-relationship man is different. He wants autonomy and peace. He's honest about not wanting a relationship. He doesn't simulate commitment. He accepts limited connection as the cost. But every now and then he gets a little too comfortable and drifts into situationships. Ends up resenting the quality time he volunteered for. The non-relationship man who acts like the relationship man, he uses commitment language as his game. He makes promises, he keeps them at first. He cuddles while giving her advice at first. Always making references to the future with her in it at first. Short-term gain, long-term damage. Not just to women, but to the ecosystem itself. Young men sowing wild oats aren't one of the kings. That's just a phase. So these four kings make up the majority of men, which raises a question. Which of the four kings aren't a part of the relationship ecosystem? All of them are, even the men trying not to be. I mentioned this before. Relationships don't just mean marriage. They include expectations, bonding, access, trust, time. If you're engaging with women at all, you're participating. Dating multiple women still shapes expectations. And acting like a relationship man not only teaches women what to look for, it implicitly acknowledges the value of relationships. In other words, A man can convince himself that he rejects relationships, but if he mimics them behaviorally, he's already conceded the argument. Even opting out doesn't remove a man from the ecosystem. It still affects supply and demand and standards. Society can't move forward without relationships. Not as an idea, as a function. Humans are wired for long-term cooperation. When a culture begins to reject relationships as a value, it doesn't create freedom, it creates incompetence. Men are taught relationships fail, so they don't prepare. Then the relationship fails. And what do they say? I knew it. Not realizing they fulfilled a prediction. Follow that logic far enough and you don't get freedom. You get isolation and mistrust. This was never about who's right or who's wrong. Each king makes sense once you understand him. The problem is that many men don't know which one they are, and fewer understand the cost of pretending to be another. When desire and behavior don't match, the cost doesn't disappear. It just shows up later as chaos, resentment, loss. And the issue isn't whether a man should want a relationship. It's whether his actions align with the life he claims to want. Alignment, not ideology. Many men believe staying vague protects them, that avoiding clarity lets them enjoy benefits without the cost. That belief is false. Ambiguity doesn't remove consequences. It delays it. This is why some men say never promise her anything and still end up dealing with resentment and leverage they never intended to hand over. Different cultures may seem to tolerate that gray area longer, but they don't erase expectations. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's a growing segment of men that are avoiding relationships, not because they hate them, they've given up on them, and retreating feels safer than building. That's why some of them collect talking points. She's playing the long game, never give her money, she has a boyfriend, they're all the same. But those aren't strategies, they're retreat narratives. Preparation works differently though, and preparation just means knowing which king you are, acting in alignment with him, and accepting the cost. So the question isn't about women. It isn't about culture. It isn't about whether relationships are worth it. It's simpler. Which king are you? Not the one you claim to be, the one your behavior reveals you to be. Every king pays a price. The only difference is when and how. The relationship man pays in patience. The non-relationship man pays in connection. The men who pretend, they pay in chaos. And the man who refuses to decide, he doesn't avoid the cost. He just lets time choose for him what the cost will be. You don't escape the relationship ecosystem. You either participate with clarity or you participate blindly. Just a little something to think about. Love, purpose, and passports. Peace.